Is Gavin Newsom running for president? And do the Democrats hate it? We're going to talk about it and get into the mind of a Democrat and more today on Speechless. Thanks for joining. Hey, Bloomington Normal, and welcome back to Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal and beyond. Why do I say beyond? Well, that's because we stream. And if this is your first time tuning in a while or ever, then, well, you guys should know we're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Rumble. We get some great viewers there as well. And so if you're not driving, I don't want you to be distracted while you're driving or anything like that, but you can go to those platforms. All you got to do is look up Cities 92.9 or Speechless with Kev, and you'll find it right there. Just within the last week or so on YouTube, my Speechless with Kev channel hit over 1,000 subscribers. I have content that I post on there outside of just what I cover on my 2-hour radio show, which you're listening to right now. And if you want to check that out, guys, again, don't forget to go look it up. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. I'd really appreciate it. If you don't know me, I'm 22-year-old conservative college student Kev Phares, host of Speechless, obviously here and on YouTube. And I am so happy to be talking to you guys today, this beautiful Sunday, the daylight savings time. Now, I know if I have any viewers from across the nation, there are some areas that don't necessarily have daylight savings time, whatever, but it's daylight savings time. It's a time change, and it's definitely time for change, everybody. And we're going to even talk about that a little bit when it comes to Democrats, actually, and the potential shadow campaign being run by Governor Gavin Newsom, potentially for president. Newsom 2024? We're going to talk about that, but I do want to give a big shout out right now to Paul Garcia of Paul Garcia Productions. Paul Garcia has been sponsoring this show for quite a while. He tells me that my deal is technically up because he helped me out with some equipment and everything. And so that we could stream, but I still want to give him a great shout out. I did a little hour-long conversation with him for my YouTube channel last Friday, just a few days ago, and I posted that onto my YouTube channel. We're going to play a clip of it at some point on the radio show today, if you stick with me for the full 2 hours. But Paul Garcia Productions helps businesses in Bloomington Normal get more business. If you want to make stunning and effective video content advertisements for your business, and like I said, help your business get more business, check out Paul Garcia Productions today. He does amazing work. Thank you so much, Paul. I really appreciate you. But let's get on into this. Okay, so Bill Maher, you guys might know him, popular, liberal. I always describe him as more of a traditional liberal comedian. Why do I say traditional liberal? Well, I say that because he is very open to free speech. He's pretty honest about things and the way he sees it. He takes more of liberal positions, but will recognize objective truths. He's for the most part been against transitioning children. He's like I said, very free speech. So I do give him, I give him a chance a lot of times. And just this last week, he laughed at California Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom for running what is widely viewed as a quote unquote shadow campaign for president. Maher made the remarks during his HBO show Real Time on Friday while talking with Rep. Dean Phillips from Minnesota, who recently entered the Democratic presidential primary race against Joe Biden. I actually have a clip from that show. We're going to play a little bit of it here right now for all you guys to listen to. If you're on YouTube or anything, you can even see it. So go check us out there. Take a listen.
83% of Democrats under.
I must be muted on my end. 1 second. Let me unmute this and we'll get this going.
83% of Democrats under 30 want a different nominee.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of politicians lie, but the numbers don't.
And it's not like others aren't doing this in a sort of a shadow campaign. I mean, Gavin Newsom, our governor, seems to be all over the world.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. And, there's, they're going to the battleground states and the primary. They're really doing it. I feel like at least you are honest and you're saying, no, I'm going to do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. I mean, we still, by the way, there are 21 of us on the ballot in New Hampshire. If you're 35 years old, you were born in the United States, you can go there, bring a $1,000 check, and become a candidate for president of the United States of America. Thank goodness, Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
But you don't really want to do this for yourself necessarily, right? You were just saying somebody needs to do this.
I spent a year encouraging, pass the torch.
So if you had the power to appoint someone to do this job of running as the Democratic nominee and getting the nomination from Biden, who would it be?
You.
That's funny. It'd be you. It'd be you. And so we're going to get into the mind of a Democrat today. We're going to think about it. Like I said, I'm 22-year-old conservative college student, Kev Phares. But I want to do a thought exercise with everybody because this is, 50% of our population, about, give or take, does vote Democrat. It is actually by registration numbers, the largest party in the United States. It's larger than the Republican Party. And so I want to understand what is actually going on in their party. I've often talked about the divide between Republicans, just in the Republican Party in and of itself, in our Congress, when it comes to the Speaker of the House controversy that we've had for the last several weeks. But I want to understand the actual divide that is going on within the Democratic Party, and it's there. It might be subtler, and they don't necessarily push it as much, but there is one there, and Gavin Newsom is a perfect example of that. Here's the thing. Bill Maher's right. And we all have kind of known it. It's the worst kept secret in American politics right now, or at least one of them, that Gavin Newsom is basically running for president. He's a poster boy for the Democrats. Can you name another high-profile Democrat with the name recognition, donor base, and political talent? Honestly. Well, again, political talent. When I say that, I'm not complimenting him on policy or anything like that. What I am saying is that he is a good politician. And I don't consider that a compliment. Being a good politician is not a compliment. He has political talent. And wouldn't it make sense that he could assume and succeed after Biden is gone? But what's the hesitation? Why won't Democrats go all in on Newsom 2024 right now? Approval ratings for Biden are at record lows, and the vast majority of Americans believe the country is moving in the wrong direction. That's why you even heard that Representative Dean Phillips out of Minnesota, who's a Democrat, who is primarying Joe Biden. He is on the ballot in New Hampshire because not only do most Americans believe we're heading in the wrong direction, a lot of Democrats also dislike Biden and dislike the way of the nation is going. So, not to mention the fact that Biden's status as an octogenarian and pretty much everyone in America besides Kamala Harris question if Joe can even make it through a second term, if not even just a campaign. Wouldn't it make sense to have a successor ready? Wouldn't it have made political sense to say, as a Democrat, again, if you're thinking like a Democrat, to say, okay, we know Joe Biden's not the best. We know he's not really healthy. We know that he has all these gaffes, these fumbles. He can't even walk up the stairs without falling almost ever. So shouldn't we get somebody else ready for 2024? We use him as a placeholder. Wouldn't you think that's what they would do? Wouldn't it make sense politically to put someone else up? Someone who your voter base would be more confident in and supports more? Again, what is the holdup? Is it the fact that California's population has declined by more than 665,000 people since the day that Gavin Newsom took office in 2019? Well, it's not that because Dems will consistently say it's because of racist Republicans and misinformation. That's what they'll say. Could it be maybe in California, the rampant homelessness and the people defecating on the streets? No, somehow that's also Republicans' fault for maybe not providing enough social services for these people. Outside of just policy failures, Newsom cheated on his first wife with his campaign manager's wife. Seriously, actual thing that happened. But that wasn't enough for Democrats to avoid nominating him and electing him to governor twice, and even getting him through a recall election with against Larry Elder. So again, I ask, what is it? Why not dump your slow, outdated computer for a brand new high-speed laptop? An analogy for Biden to Newsom. Well, I believe firmly that it's twofold. The first is pretty simple. It's that Gavin Newsom is a straight and white man. Now, those qualities, most normal people wouldn't find them objectionable. They're inherent traits, meaning you can't change them. Why would you say that shouldn't be your candidate just based on that? If he really believes what you believe and pushes that policy, shouldn't that be what matters? Not to Democrats. Not only must you be a slave to the degrading progressive policies and ideology, but to be that and to be within that ideology, you must also recognize that the inherent characteristics of a candidate and even just of an individual matter even more than policy, record, and likability combined. And you might be out here saying, you might say, well, Kev, Joe Biden is also a straight and white male. Your argument is invalid. And you'd be right. If not, there's an if not for the person that's set to take over for Joe Biden, if, and in my opinion, when he's unable to continue. For Democrats to nominate their best known and arguably most electable candidate, they would have to jettison Vice President Kamala Harris, the first woman and non-white person ever to serve in that position. Despite her deep unpopularity, she is unlikely to step aside willingly. Kamala Harris has continuously shown that she'll do anything to advance her own career. In the 1990s, she had an affair with Willie Brown, who at the time was more than double her age and was married at the start of the relationship. You might always hear people say that she slept her way to the top. And some people out there might just say, oh, well, you're just sexist. It's just because she's a woman. No, this is true. This is a fact. This affair happened and it's publicly known. And Willie Brown, even went on to publish an op-ed about it in 2019. Now, Brown, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, went on to become the mayor of San Francisco. And during his term, Kamala became the district attorney of San Francisco, where she put a lot of black people in prison for smoking weed, while also apparently smoking weed and inhaling at the same time, which is something she's publicly admitted to. So, after all that hard work she's put in to get to where she is, and I say that in jest, do you really think that she or the Democrat Party would allow for another straight white guy to take Joe's place? Of course not. But then again, Democrat voters have been content to reject Kamala before. In 2020, her campaign didn't even make it to the first votes in Iowa. Yeah. So deeply unpopular herself. But once again, she will not step aside, and the Democrats will not allow for another straight white guy to come take the position. Because to them, it is all about the identity. It is all about how you were born. Your opinion is inherently more valuable to them if, and not only your opinion, but your place in a leadership position is inherently more valuable to them if you meet the diversity requirements. That is why they got so outraged about the fact that that the affirmative action ruling was torn down. Oh, man. I can't get into college even though I'm unqualified just because of my race? No, whoever you are. No, the hypothetical person I'm talking to. You can't. That's not how the world should work. But to Democrats, they will make sure that's how the world works. I also want to get back to Newsom. He's worked hard to overcome his failures and to prove himself to the woke gods and the woke zealots. Through his pushing of socialist economics over taxation, climate change, and environmental justice, reparations, and much more policy that is just about as progressive as it gets, he's essentially sold his soul to the party. He has. If you had done all that, put yourself in Gavin Newsom's shoes, everybody. That's what I've been trying to do when I've been kind of laying this out. If you're in Gavin Newsom's shoes and you had done all of that, again, basically sold your soul to the Democrat Party and to the woke ideology, wouldn't you be a little disgruntled that a babbling octogenarian and someone who slept her way to the top and relies solely on her race and gender are the highest ranking members of your party, and you're being told to wait your turn? Wouldn't that make you pretty mad? Wouldn't it make you want to go out on your own and try to forge it yourself? I got to be honest, I kind of feel bad for Gavin Newsom. Now, I'm terrified of him because, and I'll lay that out a little bit soon, but I feel terrible for Gavin Newsom. The amount of work he has put in, I'm not happy with it. I'm not happy with the outcomes of it. I think he is probably, the policies he pushes would be not only awful for California, have shown to be awful for California, but are also bad for America as a whole. But with the amount of effort he has put in to pushing bad policy for the party of bad policy, wouldn't you be mad that they're highlighting Joe Biden and Kamala Harris over you? When you're the pretty boy of progressive politics, wouldn't you be just as mad? Now, I'm going to get into the shadow campaign more in the next few segments. The shadow campaign Gavin is running. He's flying all over. He's talking to a lot of different people. And it's actually kind of fascinating to me. It's something I haven't really seen much in American politics. And I'm going to break it down. And once again, I'm going to talk more about why the Democrats hate it. And I want you guys to stick around with me, but I do have to take a break on the radio. I am still live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Rumble during our breaks. If you're listening to the radio, don't forget to check out the businesses that support us, because not only are they supporting themselves in terms of marketing and advertising, but they're supporting us here and allowing us to be a messenger, and a purveyor of truth and the stories that the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget, you can text or call in and comment on anything I'm talking about at 309-451-9299. Again, that number is 309-451-9299. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be right back with more Speechless live on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal and beyond. Hey, everybody on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Rumble, anything like that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let's see who we got in the chat. Andrea, good to see you. Thank you so much. Sober October is over. Walking to the bar. Oklahoma chicken cam. You never cease to make me laugh a little bit here. And see, Laura, thanks for coming in. Every freaking video I come to has 49 likes. Then I press it, turn 50. Completely insane. How freaking, yeah, YouTube is crazy. Jim, thank you so much for tuning in. You're absolutely right with this. This is something I'm going to cover a little bit in the next two segments. Goblin, I think you meant Mussolini, but Goblin Mussolini POS. Pookie is out here with some hot takes. Okay, Pookie. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. Yeah, once again, Jim, I see you're commenting a little bit on Sober October down there. Firmly believe it's a liberal lie to take fun out of the world, but if you practice it, it's okay. We all fall into liberal lies sometimes. I get it. I'm an Irish Catholic. You think I'm not going to drink? Pookie, I appreciate Ty sending here. I love Ty Smith. If you guys saw the show yesterday, make sure you check out the show that he did yesterday in studio with me. Because we had a fascinating liberal caller call in, and she was indoctrinated, like no doubt brainwashed by the left. And it was like every time I'd push back on anything, she'd be like, well, statistically, that's not true. And I'm like, what statistics are you using? She's like, I can't name them. I'm in my car. And I'm like, well, I actually know what you're talking about, and I can name them for you. And here's why they're wrong. So it was quite a fun time. Ty's a great guy. Okay, well, I'll be coming back here in a little over a minute, everybody. Yeah, I was also surprised that she stayed on that long. Let me go check my Rumble too, because I sometimes get comments there and they don't show up in my feed on my stream software. Once again, guys, thank you all for helping me get to for 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I really do appreciate it. And just keep sharing. I mean, messages like this, people limitedly talk about them and not lay out the whole story, or they won't talk about them at all. So I appreciate you guys. Don't forget, everywhere you guys can like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Definitely make sure, if you're not watching on YouTube right now, to check out my YouTube channel, because that's where I post a lot of my content. But we're going to be coming back here now on the radio. Hey, Bloomington Normal, and welcome back to Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal and beyond. I'm your host, Kev Phares, 22-year-old conservative college student out of Central Illinois, going to Illinois State University right now, but I will be graduating in December, and I'm very excited for that. If you guys are listening on the radio right now or on the app, that's awesome, and I appreciate it, and I hope you check out any of the businesses you just heard from during our break, but you can also be checking us out on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and Rumble. All you got to do is look up Cities 92.9 or Speechless with Kev, and you'll find me and my bright and smiling face, which I've been told is good for radio, but my mom always tells me it's great for everything else too. So, because I love my mom. It was my mom's birthday this last week, everybody. Just a quick personal note. Happy birthday, Mom. November 2nd, my mother's birthday. Happy birthday. Age does not matter. We won't talk about that. And I love you. Happy birthday, Mom. She told me I should probably sing on the radio, and I said my listeners would not enjoy that. But I want to get back into everything we're talking about, guys. And also, don't forget, if you want to talk to me about these things or ask any questions, comments, debate me, that's perfectly fine. All you got to do is text or call in at 309-451-9299 is that number, 309-451-9299. Now, let's get back on into it. I was talking in the first segment a lot about how Gavin Newsom is running a shadow campaign for president. Governor of California is running a shadow campaign for president of the United States. And the Democrats hate it. And to recap and to just a little bit, is one of the biggest reasons they hate it is because Gavin Newsom is a straight white guy. And who is going to fill in for Joe Biden if, and in my opinion, when he is not able or not fit to continue his campaign or his time in office? Kamala Harris, who, despite having radically low approval ratings in her presidential campaign, not even making it to Iowa, she still got the vice presidency, and she'd be installed as the president of the United States, or at least the candidate for the upcoming term, if and like I said, possibly when Joe Biden is unable to continue. Gavin Newsom, despite being the pretty boy of progressive politics, definitely not conservative, anti-conservative politics, progressive and arguably Marxist politics, has made quite the name for himself. He's worked hard to overcome his plights and failures of losing hundreds of thousands of California residents, having cities being looted and crime being rampant, homelessness as well, and defecation on the streets. He's been able to overcome all of that by continuously pushing all of his policies. What, like allowing for safe drug user or safe places for drug users to do their drugs, pushing for reparations. Again, socialist economics, having incredibly high tax rates. Yeah, it might push businesses out, but at least they're trying to get what they want pushed through. Again, I feel bad for Newsom, but his shadow campaign is obvious. And I bet it is to the dismay of the Democrat Party, because they know he is the best that they have. They know that. Out of an op-ed in The Hill, for now, Newsom is playing the role of a candidate while denying that he is one. He recently added Israel to his trip to Asia after the terrorist attack of October 7th. And we're going to talk about what he's been doing in these other countries and the other places he's been traveling to for this shadow campaign. But we do have to take a break here on the radio. I know that's a short segment and everything, but I have to go by what this is, because we have some great advertisers. We have some great advertisers who advertise with us on the radio, and I want you guys to make sure you listen to them and support them as well. So please definitely check them out, and make sure you stay tuned to hear all about what Gavin Newsom was doing in China. What was he doing? What did he sign? Why do we have governors that go over and do these kinds of trips to foreign countries? Should they even be doing that? Is Gavin Newsom going to be successful in his shadow campaign for president? What's going to happen? Why is he pissing off Democrats with this? All of these questions and more answered soon on Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Be right back. I know that's a short segment, everybody. Thank you guys for bearing with me. I know a lot of times people are like, oh, come on, get to the point. And I want to, but when I have all of this laid out and I know the length of my segments, I got to put it in pieces and separate it out. But it does give me time to make sure I can get and talk to you guys in the chat as well. So make sure you guys are commenting, sharing, all that kind of fun stuff, because I will make sure to respond as much as possible. So, Great to see you. I see Jim and Andrea talking a little bit there. Great. I saw what Killary did. I did see what Killary did. Yeah. But again, we got to analyze what they're doing and what's going on in the Democratic Party. Look, the best strategy in politics is to know your enemy better than you know yourself. And so that's what we're working on here today. Because they're loyal to foreign countries. I'll bring that up. I hope you guys all had a wonderful week. Mine's been busy. Had some goldfish here. I've eaten nothing today, so I munch a little bit. Pookie, I love how just unfettered you are. I love it. Economically sucks. It's funny. We'll be back soon here on the radio talking about Newsom's travel and the rest of his shadow campaign. I see you few are watching on Rumble too. Anybody who's watching on Rumble, you're awesome. Love you. Platonically, of course. This is a good point from one of my friends, Ryan Mack, host of the Ryan Mack Show. You guys can go check that out as well. We'll be back here soon. I don't know. I hope you guys are enjoying the idea of trying to get into the mind of a Democrat. If, in fact, I'm actually recording an interview this week with somebody who identifies as a leftist. We're going to talk about a lot of different things, and I'm sure it'll be interesting. It'll be fiery, I'm sure, but I'm also doing it significantly with the purpose to show that conversations can happen with people from the other side of the aisle, and that's not even just of the aisle; it's the other side of the room. And we are diametrically opposed on a lot of issues, but I think it's important to show maybe some of the places that we can even find some common ground and have serious conversations about things. So definitely make sure you're subscribed so that you guys can see that it'll come out either by the end of this week or beginning of next week. And it'll be a great conversation. A lot of it will be on the trans and gender ideology stuff, which you guys know I am very passionate about because our kids are being used to be slaves of big pharma. And I don't like that. So maybe I get into that a little bit today. I don't know. I got a lot to do. I got a lot to cover. We're going to talk a little bit at some point too about the prostitution boom in New York City. What's causing it? But that'll be after we finish up with some Newsom stuff here. We'll be back in about 15 seconds, everybody. So bear with me. You guys are awesome. We got the Eagles and the Cowboys playing right now. I know some people might be watching some football, but at least keep me on. I appreciate you. Hey, and welcome back to Speechless on Cities 92.9. I'm your host, Kev Phares, 22-year-old conservative college student from Illinois State University. Soon to be graduate, actually. I'm very excited for that. And for anybody who's been tuning in for all more than 2 years now that I've been doing this show on the radio. Thank you so much. And you should know, if you don't already, that I am on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Rumble, where you can go interact with me, see me in studio, see the face that was made for radio. But my mom still loves it. So we're gonna get back to what we were talking about, everybody. But I also want to remind you that you can text or call into the show at 309-451-9299. Again, that number is 309-451-9299 if you want to talk about anything that we're talking about here today. And my first topic for most of this first hour has been getting into the mind of Democrats, specifically as it relates to Gavin Newsom's shadow campaign for president of the United States. Gavin Newsom being the governor of California. I've talked about how there's a major issue with the Democrat Party in which they don't actually want Gavin Newsom to be president. Not yet. Despite the fact that he is probably the most popular, or one of the most popular Democrats for his ability to sell the Democrat ideology while also having a moderate tone and just such a charming smile on his face, having some of the largest donor bases, being a very, very successful politician, the Democrats still don't want him. Why? Because he's a straight white male. They'd much rather have the much less popular Kamala Harris, because to them, the color of your skin, what's between your legs, or at least what you believe is between your legs, all of that is much more important than who you actually are, your merit, and what you've done. And again, I don't agree with the policies that Gavin Newsom has put forward. But again, getting into the mind of a Democrat, wouldn't you think that they'd want somebody who has the merit of a progressive zealot as much as Gavin Newsom is? No, because they'd rather have Sleepy Joe, and who will likely bow out at some point, either of the race or if he were to win a second term, which obviously they're banking on, and Kamala. Kamala would be able to take over. So I want to talk about Gavin Newsom's shadow campaign specifically. He's running a shadow campaign. I bet, and like I said, I bet it's to the dismay of the Democrat Party, because they know he is the best they have, but they don't want him yet. Out of an op-ed in The Hill, for now, Newsom is playing the role of a candidate while denying that he is one. He recently added Israel to his trip to Asia after the terrorist attack of October 7th. In China, Newsom is signing meaningless symbolic agreements on climate change with counterparts who probably do not intend to honor them. His trip is a minor propaganda win for the world's biggest and most unrepentant carbon polluter. China's ruling Communist Party, after all, is already building more than 100 new coal-fired power plants, and each week it reportedly approves permits for 2 additional new ones. So Newsom's trip to China is a perfect symbol of his and his state's ardent commitment to pretend to do something about what he calls the climate crisis. I love the writer of this as well. It's from The Hill. I just found that, and I thought it was the best way to outline what Gavin Newsom was doing in China. And he's been doing these kinds of things, performative deals and signings and stuff with all these different countries. And I asked at the end of the last segment, why do governors do this? Period. Not just Newsom, but why do governors go to different countries? Doesn't that seem like they're supposed to be running their state? Why do they go to different countries and do things like this? I had one commenter, my friend Andrea, I believe, who came onto my YouTube channel and commented because they are loyal to foreign countries. And I don't necessarily think that's always wrong. Now, I don't think it's always right either. I think there's different instances. Now, when you have people like Gavin Newsom going to do this, one, it's political posturing. It's political posturing, again, because he's running a shadow campaign for president. And it is so crazy to me that you wouldn't just come out and be like, yep, I'm running for president. But instead doing everything that a candidate does, going to primary states, going to all these different countries, being diplomatic and trying to show your diplomacy, doing everything that's that, but not actually saying that you're running for president. It's dishonest. It's annoying. It's weird. Is he owned by a foreign country? It's definitely within the realm of possibility. I don't know. Some of them, I would not be surprised. There's only one good reason, though, why I could see a governor of a state going and visiting a different country. And that is if in some way they are trying to bring business and jobs that are in that country. Maybe it's a business that's headquartered in that country, something like that, bringing that to their state. something along the lines of that. If it is not in a way that directly and very, very directly benefits your state, then there's no reason you should be over there. This example of Gavin Newsom going to China to try to, one, the irony in China being the one that he wants to sign a climate crisis agreement with is not lost unto me. However, the fact that he went there in the first place, it's ignorant of his own constituent base. Well, not necessarily his base, but his own constituency. He has so many other problems he should be fixing in California that are one more real, but also more pressing than the quote unquote climate crisis. Why is he doing this? Again, it's political posturing. Newsom has promised Biden that he is not running for president. Yet, although he may not be running technically, he is making it clear he's ready should the need arise. It will only take a short break from the Democratic's base from getting high on its own supply of diversity, equity, and inclusion claptrap. That's exactly what it would need to do. Because again, Gavin Newsom is an evil, straight white male. Something that the Democrats, it's the only group of people in the United States that you could be as racist, sexist, or I don't know, because everybody always uses the word homophobic. Would it be heterophobic? Yeah. It's the only group that you can be as racist, sexist, and heterophobic as you want. Straight white males. You could be as offensive as you want to straight white males, guys that look like me. You could be as offensive as you want, and you won't get fired from your job. You won't get canceled. You might get posted. The only time you'd ever get ridiculed for it is if you get posted on Libs for TikTok. Other than that, though, usually praised. Yeah, those straight white men, they are oppressors. They are colonists. They're so terrible, all of them. But back to Newsom. He is the most successful and poised to be the most successful Democrat in our modern politics. And while I feel bad for him that the Democrat Party is not giving him the light that in the spotlight that he has honestly earned, I'm happy about it because he terrifies me. As somebody said in my comment section, he's like American Psycho. And when it comes to progressivism, he is an absolute psycho. He should terrify all of us. Here's why. Biden is beholden to his moderate base. While he pushes progressive ideology, he made moderate promises and he flip-flopped on progressive issues like fracking and appealed heavily to just moderate ideology in his campaign. The whole idea was, you don't have to like me, but Trump is too extreme. Come to me. I'm a moderate. And again, is he really? No. Is he really the one in control? No. But he was able to sell that he was a moderate. And he was pushing and he was pushing policies that compared to what some of the, while it's not good policy, compared to what some of the progressives want to do, it was moderate. Newsom, I would argue, is much more like an Obama on steroids. His charming smile and objectively attractive features allow him to sell the snake oil that is progressivism, Marxism, communism, like it's the best thing since sliced bread. And people will buy it. They bought into Obama. And again, part of Obama's sell was his race. Most of it was his race. But why will they buy it from Newsom? Look, yeah, he is an evil straight white man, but he's pretty. I can imagine it now. All the people that are just like, I just love his smile. I just love his smile. You can see that on newsreels. Whenever he announces that he's running for president, whether it's 2024 or 2028. Again, I'm not ruling out of 2024. But I think he'll keep running the shadow campaign so that he can try to earn his way, because he's done everything to try to appeal to the top Democrat officials that basically make the decisions. He's tried to appeal so much to them that he's trying to go above the process of going through a primary. He's trying to play by their rules so that he will be the next in line. And not to mention the fact that he has pretty privilege. Again, I said a lot of people will buy his snake oil because he's pretty. We always hear about white privilege, male privilege, and everything. What about pretty privilege? All these attractive people and all their privilege. Check your privilege, pretty people. I hate it. But I digress a little bit. I'm not convinced that Joe Biden will be the Democratic candidate in 2024, but I am convinced that if he were to be reelected, Joe Biden, he will not serve the full term. And Gavin's actions are him trying to show that he's ready to step up. His shadow campaign is both sad and terrifying at the same time. And if you have anything you'd like to add about that, don't forget you can text or call in at 309-451-9299. Again, that number is 309-451-9299. Everybody, we got to take a break here soon on the radio, but I'm happy you guys have stuck with me this long talking about Gavin Newsom and his shadow government or his shadow presidential run. I got some other things to talk about in the next hour plus segment that we have. After this break, I'm going to talk a little bit about migrants causing the prostitution boom. When I say migrants, I mean illegal immigrants. I'm reading the headline that I'm going to use from a New York Post article. But Eric Adams has been in a lot of controversy recently, and one of which is him blaming illegal immigrants for the cause of the prostitution boom in New York City. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about his corruption a little bit. I also have a guest coming on in the second hour, David Shostokis, a good friend of mine, who's also an attorney for one of the defendants in the Georgia Trump case. So we're going to talk about that, the update on that, and a lot more. Don't forget to stay tuned, everybody, for more Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal and beyond. Okay, let's get to some of these comments here. Oh, my hair keeps coming out of my hat in weird ways. I didn't comb my hair. I got to get a haircut. I didn't comb it. And so I was like, I'm just going to put on a hat today. I also had somebody in my comments section for one of my videos that I posted last week say that they thought the backwards hat looked cool. And I took that to heart. Because I don't have pretty privilege. Look, I'm not bad looking, but I don't have the pretty privilege of a lot of people. And it's the straight white male liberal calling the white people bad. Absolutely. Gavin reminds me of the Antichrist in the Left Behind movies. Slick talking, good looking savior. Yep. It's that reason why women should know. Oh, okay. I am not totally in agreement. I do believe women should have a vote. But if you want to call and talk about that, you're more than welcome to, Andrea. Just do it in the second hour because I have a little bit I want to cover by the end of this one. We ugly people are on our own. Got to have some more goldfish here. Let's see anybody talking on Rumble. Mike Johnson for Prez from Pookie. Pookie's over on Rumble now, everybody. Pookie transcends platforms. That's funny. We'll be back soon. This is a live radio show. If you've never watched me before, this is a live radio show. I'm on a break right now. I interact with people in the comments. Feel free to comment anything you want. Thank you. I do need to get another one, though. I use Sports Clips. They don't sponsor. They probably wouldn't. But I use Sports Clips. I like Sports Clips. A little overpriced, though, I got to admit. For what I need, at least. Like, I usually just like a fade on the sides and a little bit off the top. Okay. God, I have so many stories I wanted to cover today. I don't think I'm going to get to all of them. I'm going to have to do some more cut for time segments, guys. I got one. Again, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to it. Is a man who thinks he has PMS. Yeah, a man thinks he's getting PMS. Now, of course, he's a transgender individual. But how delusional you have to be to be not only believe you're a different gender, but also believe you're experiencing PMS when you don't have a menstrual cycle. Our world is in a state of delusion. Andrea got Facebook banned. Yeah, truth tellers usually do. That's why I always do say I appreciate all the support on YouTube. That's my biggest platform. But also go check out the Rumble. I don't post everything there. I get a lot of stuff there. It's mainly my backup for if my YouTube were to ever get suspended. Then I'd go to Rumble for a lot of my content. Rumble's just their user interface is not as simple and understandable and as quick as YouTube's is. YouTube makes it really easy for creators. While they are difficult on the free speech stuff, they make it really easy for creators to upload and do everything. It's their user interface is so much more or so much easier for somebody who is not a very big tech guy like myself. I know enough and I get by. Coming back here soon for my last segment of this hour. I got to keep on moving, and we're back here on Speechless. I'm your host, Kev Phares, 22-year-old conservative college student out of Central Illinois. Obviously, I've had a lot to talk about today, and a lot of times if you guys have listened to this show before or watched it on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, or Rumble, which you could go watch on right now, all you got to do is look up Speechless with Kev or Cities 92.9, and you can find me there. But if you've ever listened to it before, you know that this segment, usually I do a motivational segment. I am still going to do a motivational segment today, but I'm probably going to do it at the end of the next hour because I have some other, before I get to my interview that it's happening at 4:00 with constitutional attorney David Shostokis, I had one more story that I wanted to cover real quick in this short segment. And I'm going to try to get through a lot of it, but migrants are the cause, and illegal immigrants is what I mean, but out of the New York Post, illegal immigrants caused the prostitution boom in New York City, according to Eric Adams. Mayor Eric Adams has blamed the rise in prostitution in a Queens neighborhood on an influx of female Venezuelan migrants who are struggling to find other work in the Big Apple. Hisner said that the surge in illegal activity taking place on the street corners in Corona is just, quote, one example of how the nation's ongoing migrant crisis is crippling the city. It is unclear whether the Venezuelan migrants the mayor referenced are being, quote, sex trafficked to perform these acts or if they're soliciting sex of their own free will. This is what happens when you create an atmosphere that people can't provide for themselves. You can't work, you can't provide for your job, and you have nothing to turn to besides illegal activities to do so. Adams told reporters during a Tuesday briefing, which I find really funny that was his quote. This is what happens when you create an atmosphere that people can't provide for themselves. Who did that? Who did that? Was it the Republican mayor or the Republican governor of New York? No, it was not. It was not. But even he admits that he's provided an atmosphere that people can't provide for themselves, along with the fact that these are illegal immigrants. And this is, you want to know who did that? The president of the United States, who basically said, we're open, everybody, come on, we're open, come here. We're going to give you, we got multiple states, they're sanctuary states, sanctuary cities. We're going to put you up. We're going to give you housing. We're going to give you health care. We're going to do all we got some places in the country that are saying they're even paying stipends to illegal immigrants. Come on. What did you expect was going to happen? Then he went on, Mayor Eric Adams said, when I talk about the spiraling impact of how this is going to affect our city, this is what I'm talking about. We are going to create generational problems based on the failure of the national government, and this is one example of that. Okay, so the funny thing is he himself even blames Biden in that final quote, but he's also not taking any accountability for the fact that he also encouraged a lot of it as well. It's not until it comes to your front door, it comes into your city that you're like, oh, wait. That's what we're seeing in Illinois right now. In Illinois, we are a sanctuary state, as JB Pritzker loves to tout, but we are not a border state. The reason why the Democrats were so willing to do that is because we're not on the border. We could do it, but it's not, the Democrats didn't think that it would actually like have that major of an impact. But then as soon as Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis and other governors start sending illegal immigrants to these sanctuary states and sanctuary cities, look what happens. Look what happens. The other thing I thought was really funny about this story when it comes to the illegal immigrants that are causing the boom of prostitution in New York City is there's the common trope that has been used to make fun of conservatives for a long time. That conservatives look, and South Park did it a lot too. There's a common trope that says that conservatives complain that illegal immigrants are taking our jobs, or taking our jobs, or taking our jobs. And there was a point that was definitely back in like the 2010s ish that was like kind of more of an argument to be made. It's not super as much of what people are talking about nowadays when it comes to the illegal immigrant crisis. Now it's much more when it comes to the idea of fentanyl, sex trafficking, which could be an issue in this situation itself, kidnapping, crime, not knowing who's in our country. There's a litany of other issues that don't even relate to the taking our jobs. But I do predict that if this becomes more widespread, that more illegal immigrants across the United States cause booms of prostitution in places, then you'll have all these mid-20-something dumb sorority girls who started an OnlyFans to make some more money. They're going to start complaining about, they're taking our jobs, they're taking our jobs, they're taking our jobs. You're right, and they're willing to do it for a lot less money, too, you privileged ass. Ashley, that's what I was saying. Ashley, the name Ashley, because that, and of course, that's just hypothetical. I just almost slipped up there, everybody, but don't worry. I'm still following my FCC guidelines. The FCC won't let me be, but let me be me and set me free, everybody. Well, I got to take a break here soon on the radio for the hour break. But don't worry, everybody. At 4:00, I will be having David Shostokis on to talk about the current case in Georgia against President Trump, as well as a litany of other people, one of which is an Illinois reverend. And he will be giving me an update on that, as well as an opportunity for you guys to actually hear more about that story in person at an event this week. We're going to talk about that here soon and more on Speechless. Don't forget to check me out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Rumble. You can also text or call in at 309-451-9299. We'll be right back with more Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal and beyond. I'm glad you thought that was funny, Jim. That was like the first thing I thought of when I read it. I was like, man, got all these illegal immigrants taking our jobs from the OnlyFans girls. I think I'm allowed to say ass on air, but I didn't want to risk it. So that's why I was like, oh, let's turn it into a name real quick. Let's turn it into a name. Okay, everybody. I am on my hour break. I got to go take a quick bathroom break real quick. But in the meantime, everybody, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment, all that fun stuff. I will be right back. Okay, I am back, everybody. Thanks for everybody who bared with me. I know some people probably left. I always hate having to do that because I know it's a live stream, but nature calls. So I have to. In this time, I'll also let you guys know that if I am a partner with UnitedMerch.com, so if you want some cool conservative shirts or anything like that, you can go check out UnitedMerch.com and use code Speechless at checkout for 20% off, everybody. It'd be awesome shirts. You'd be supporting the show. You'd be supporting a conservative brand. Great stuff there. If you want to support the show, super chats. I have memberships now. I'm going to come out once I start growing a little bit more. I'll probably come out with some extended cuts for like interviews and conversations I have with people, and I'll put those on the members only side of things. Not too expensive. If you go to a certain level, there's even like I put emojis of myself that you can have. I have one of me like flicking people off, so that's kind of fun. So you could check out all that stuff, or if you want to support the show, I got Venmo, Cash App. Also, biggest way you can always support the show is just by liking, watching, sharing, commenting, subscribing, all that kind of stuff. That's the best way. But I'll be moving home after I graduate for a few months before I head off to law school. I'm submitting my applications now, but moving home means that I have to invest in some other equipment for myself. These microphones are obviously provided by the station. I need to get one for myself, some different lighting stuff that I'm going to do, green screen, stuff like that for my home office. And so if you want, so anything that you are able to contribute, will always go to that. And I'd really appreciate it. And those are all different ways that you can contribute to the show. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. David is not here yet, so I might go on with a different story. If he doesn't join sometime soon. Speechless with Kev shirts are something I will work on. Allison, thank you for commenting. Thank you for tuning in. It will be something I'll work on probably once I move home over like the Christmas time area is when I'll probably work on that kind of stuff. I never expected a lot of this. I didn't expect to stream. It kind of was something that people kept telling me I should do. And so I really am very unknowledgeable on what it's like to be like a YouTuber and how to do like merch and all that stuff. And so it's going to take a lot of learning for me. All of my streaming stuff has taken a lot of learning from me. All of the different programs I use. All the graphics I make for my thumbnails, for everything that you see on screen here. That's all I made all that. And it took a lot of learning and a lot of time. And so learning how to do my own merchandise is going to be just as much learning intensive. And it's something I'm going to do. But because I know that I've had some people talk to me about it from some different things I've said that they want on t-shirts and stuff like that. But it's something I'm going to do, but it's going to take some time. But I guess that can be my announcement. That's something I am working on. It's just going to take some time. And we are coming back soon here with the show. David is not in the waiting room, and so I'm hoping that he'll join soon. But we'll see. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. I am your host, Kev Phares, 22-year-old conservative college student out of Central Illinois, host of obviously Speechless on the air if you're listening on the radio right now, but I also host different content off the air on my YouTube channel, Speechless with Kev. In fact, right now on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, or Rumble, you could check out me. I'm live in studio, and you can see it right there, just like you guys know Ty Smith does. And if you've ever watched the Morning Buzz on our Facebook page with Kat Peterson, she does that too. I help produce David Paul Blumenshine's show right before mine from 1 to 3. We got so much fun content for you guys coming out of Cities 92.9, and I appreciate it if you guys would all go take a look at it, like this video that you see right here. Subscribe to the channels, comment what you think, share it with your friends, all that kind of stuff. So we can get, because here's what Cities 92.9 does. And here's what I do is we tell you stories and we tell you the news, not only from our perspective, but oftentimes stories that get undercut, underreported, if even reported at all. And we like to do that for you guys. And one way that we're able to is because you guys do listen, because you guys do support, and because you do like the videos and push them to your friends and everything like that. So please continue to do so. And you can even be involved in this. All you got to do is text or call in at 309-451-9299 is that number. 309-451-9299 is that number. You know, guys, I did plan on having David Shostokis on to give an update regarding the Georgia out with name is going to is actually named in that case. I do plan on still having him on. I also wanted to advertise a little bit that this coming Thursday at Families of Faith, there's an event. So November 9th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. There is a powerful program supporting Pastor Stephen Lee, who's known as America's Chaplain. And they would like to invite you to join the Patriots as we stand against the weaponization of government against religion. The world, there's a lot more that it has on here, but this is at Families of Faith Ministries, the Illinois Family Institute, United Southland Republican Women. These are all the people that sponsored it. I'm trying to find the exact location. Here it is. Families of Faith Ministries, 24466 West Emus Street in Shanahan, Illinois. This week, guys, you guys go check it out. Stephen Lee will be there. David Shostokis will be there. It'll be moderated by Kat Peterson, our very own, and I'll even probably be there as well. And we'll be talking about this case much more in depth. And you'll also be able to support Stephen Lee and even Trump in his fight against the weaponization of our government. I want to make sure that I can try to see what's going on. I know I plan to have David Shostokis on here soon. And I am going to try my best to reach out to him to get him on so that because I know he wanted to talk more about this event. He knows more about it. He's been one of the lead people helping set it up. And so I want to make sure that I can get him on to talk about it. And so to do that, I also wanted to advertise a little bit. I had a conversation earlier this week with my good friend, Paul Garcia, in which we talked about things like Catholicism. We talked about we talked about gender ideology. We talked about answering the question, what is a man? We talked about all this stuff, and the full hour-long video, unedited, uncut, everything like that, is available on my YouTube channel, Speechless with Kev Phares. You can go check out that full thing. But while I try to get a hold of David Shostokis here, I'm going to play a clip for you guys everywhere so you guys can take a listen or a look if you're on any of the streaming services at just some of what Paul and I talked about earlier last week. Research and kind of came to a conclusion as to why I am a Catholic. I want to know for you, Paul, why are you a Catholic? Why are you not any other religion, any other denomination of Christianity? Why Catholicism?
Dude, fantastic question. I asked myself the same question in my 1 year at Millikan University before I dropped out. It's the most important question you can ask yourself, really. Firstly, is there a God? Okay, if there is God, which is quite the conclusion to come to, but you will come to it if you look at it deeply enough and honestly enough, scientifically enough, you will come to that conclusion. Okay, there's a God. What religion ought I be then? You can, right now, check this out, everybody. Who founded the Catholic Church?
Jesus created Catholic Church.
Can you hear that? Look, that's not me. That's Siri right there.
Well, that could just be big tech trying to indoctrinate us.
Yeah, because big tech wants us all to be Catholic. Yeah, they're really kind of the Catholics, as is the world. No, look, it's because I'm Catholic because Christ founded this church. It is the one true church founded by Christ, founded by the apostles. You can go back as far as when it comes to Jesus and what church he founded, it was Catholicism. Yeah. It wasn't until 1516, the Protestant Reformation, that Martin Luther came along, kind of screwed everything up in simple terms and made it so now we have 45,000 different denominations within Christianity. So I'd like to be a part of the original church. And not only that, but it's the most central church. Even Jordan Peterson, who's not Catholic, and I bet you he will be within a year. His wife just became Catholic.
Really?
I bet he'll be Catholic. He even says it's the most sane as religions get. It is just the true faith. Historically, even scientifically, we're the church that explains everything. We have so much doctrine. We have the catechism. We are stern. We're strict. We have a papal authority. why wouldn't I be Catholic? The reason I'm Catholic, Kev, to answer your question, is I am willing to look honestly at the history and the facts. And that has led me to the Catholic faith, as I believe it would everyone if they took a good, hard, honest look at it.
I want to dig into the faith a little bit more too, because when we talk about the facts, a lot of times, because so briefly in college, I was looking into a non-denominational church. I was making new friends, and there were people in it. We were doing a Bible study. Overall, it was enriching my mind and my faith in some way. But then it came to a point near the end of the Bible study where it was they wanted me to fully commit to being non-denominational. But there was still two things that I had a problem with non-denominational and pretty much every other area of Christianity that Catholicism has that all of the others don't. The first was purgatory. Purgatory made sense to me. We talk about how God is all loving and all just. Well, it would only make sense that a just God would allow people who might not have been exposed to Jesus Christ in their life for whatever reason, or raised in maybe a Jewish household, and so they remain Jewish, but lived an overall virtuous life, to have an opportunity to get into heaven. And from my understanding of purgatory, that would be an opportunity for them to repent for sins and to get to know Jesus, instead of automatically being condemned to hell, which is what non-denominationals believe. If you do not profess Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior, you are automatically condemned to hell in non-denominationalism. Which and then the other thing was good works. It only, again, an all loving and all just God. It would make sense to me that not only should you profess Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, but good works should also have something to do with going to heaven as well. Non-denominationals preach that it is purely saying Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, and that good works will just come because you preach that. Well, kind of, but you could have people that maybe believe that, but then do not necessarily live as much. But it just made more, again, it makes more sense and seems more just to me that a path to heaven would include living a virtuous lifestyle. And so I'm curious about what your thoughts, if that had any role to play. What do you know about purgatory? Because I know that's still kind of a slippery slope biblically. Maybe that's not the best term to use, but
Well, hold up. It's not biblically a slippery slope.
okay, I'm looking at it from
Everyone else's view. If you're a devout Catholic, you understand it's not and I'm not saying you're not.
Yeah.
But people think, oh, biblically, what do we think about? Here's the thing. Here's a big thing. The difference between Protestants, everyone who protested against the Catholic Church, the one true Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. The difference is, first of all, among many, the core one is Protestants believe that we look at the book alone. We look at the Bible alone. You look at the Bible, that's everything you need right there in the Bible. They look at it as though it's the Quran. Christ didn't even instruct us to make a Bible, but Catholics who wrote the Bible took it upon themselves to put together this collection of important writings throughout history into one collection they called the Bible. That only happened in 382 at the Council of Rome, I believe. So first of all, Catholics wrote the Bible, and then Protestants say all you need is the Bible. Let's look at the Bible. But Protestants took 7 books out, or 6 books out of the Bible that Catholics wrote. And then they say, look at the Bible, it's perfect. Then why'd you take out 6 books that have been in there for 1,500 years?
Yeah.
They call those the Deuterocanonicals. And within those books that are taken out, that Catholics still have, my Bible is heavier than Protestant Bibles. We have more books. Within that are books that talk about, so Maccabees is the big one, that speak about the importance of these ancient Jews even praying for the dead so that they can get to heaven. Why would you pray for them if they were eternally damned to hell? Why would you do that? It would make no sense. It implies that you pray for them so that they can go through this purification process to go to heaven. And not only that, here's the big difference. So Catholics have tradition. Tradition precedes the Bible. Tradition precedes writing in a general sense. Before there is any writing, any real language written down on paper, there was tradition. Tradition's incredibly important. The truths and details and facts about faith, theology, God, they're not all contained within the few pages of the Bible. The Bible's holy, wonderful, amazing. Of course, Catholics wrote it, blessed, everything good. And it's true. But there are truths and details, important historical documents outside of the Bible and within tradition. And I just spoke with a theology doctor about a couple years ago now. He's at Illinois Wesleyan. And I asked him, so what do you think about purgatory and these deuterocanonical books that Protestants took out? Did the apostles have them? And he said, first of all, apostles probably didn't have many writings, but if they did have a book, it would have had those deuterocanonicals in them. And they would have absolutely prayed for the souls in purgatory. And so we talk about Paul talking about how until the last penny is paid, you cannot get into heaven. And even Christ says, anyone who does not eat my body and drink my blood shall not have eternal life within them, or shall not enter the kingdom of God. And I'm getting a little mixed up here. Purgatory is not that complicated. It's
Yeah.
logical, and everyone knows it is
Well, and
logical.
that's how I look at it as well. Again, once again, somebody who might have lived an entirely virtuous lifestyle and biblical lifestyle, but might have never been exposed to the Bible, or once again received family pressure, or they themselves, because of the way that they were raised in a different faith. Why should they automatically be condemned to hell, as pretty much every other Christian sector would say?
Well, and then I also want to say, for 1,500 years, since the dawn of Christianity, which was Catholicism for those 1,500 years, that was the only Christian religion besides Orthodoxy at the schism. Basically the same thing. They also believe in purgatory.
Yeah.
We believed in purgatory. We understood this well. And all of a sudden we think that in 1516, all of a sudden it clicked, and Jesus Christ and everything he taught, they got it wrong. The beginning of the church, they got it wrong. There's actually no purgatory. It's just heaven, hell. Why? I mean, that makes no sense. We go to confession here on earth because if we didn't, we'd go to hell if we had mortal sin on our soul when we died.
Yeah.
So do we believe that all those sins, no matter what, if they're all venial, they just get forgiven and we go to heaven? Or do we think that logically, because God is moral and just, that we would have to pay for those sins before we enter heaven?
Yeah.
I've heard it put this way too. If you were invited, me and you were invited to a beautiful wedding, a royal wedding right now, and they're like, hey, come on in, Kevin, Paul, come on in. Be like, hey, we're not really dressed for the occasion. Maybe give us a sec. Let's go get ready for this beautiful, perfect wedding feast. We'd want to undergo some purification. We'd want to. And this is logical. This is, I mean, in theology, like this is a theme throughout creation. We want to be better if we're going to go enter perfection in heaven.
So that was some of my conversation with Paul Garcia of Paul Garcia Productions, a very, very devout Catholic, also just a really, really intelligent guy. And you might disagree with some of what we talked about in our interview. That full interview is on YouTube on my Speechless with Kev account. Go check out Speechless with Kev Phares, and you can go watch that for yourself. And it's right there. And you can leave a comment if you disagree or anything like that. In the next segment, I do plan on having my good friend David Shostokis on. He's been in and out. I've seen him joining the waiting room. I'm going to make sure that he gets back in. You know, technology, it can always have its difficulties. And so we're working on that here, everybody. But please, 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 if you guys haven't checked out our streaming, please go do that. And if you're listening on the radio and you're going to keep listening on the radio, perfectly fine. Just listen to our advertisers and make sure to patronize them as well, because they are so supportive of our messaging here at Cities, and we really appreciate that. So thank you guys so much. We'll be right back with more Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal and beyond. Okay, guys, sorry, I'm still communicating with David. And it's just been, technology. It's a technology thing. But if you guys haven't watched that interview yet, please go do so. It's a great conversation between us. And I know not everybody here necessarily is a Catholic, but I am. And Paul is as well. And Paul is much more knowledgeable on it than I am. And that's what I like to do, is I like to bring on people and talk to people that know much more about things. And it's not all about Catholicism, our conversation. The front of it is heavy, and most of it is very God heavy. But it was just a great overall conversation. There we go. I think I got David back here now. Let's see. Let's test our sound and everything here. David Shostokis.
Hello, Kevin.
Good. You can hear me. Okay. So, and I can hear you too. So we're on a break right now on the radio. I'm going to make sure I get a name tag set up for you here, so everybody can go tell people about your book. I know you've talked about it on the show before, but I want to make sure people have good literature. So talk to everybody about your book.
Sure, absolutely. While we're waiting, I've got two books. Actually, I've got three books, one of which is Got George Washington on the cover. That's a big cover of George behind me there.
Yeah.
But that's the Spanish version, Capsulas Informativas Constitutionales. But in English, that's Constitutional Sound Bites, and that's available on Amazon. It's got 150 what I would call FAQs about the Constitution. Goes from the preamble through the 10th Amendment, and so that explains that. Most people these days aren't interested in reading like the Federalist Papers or stuff like that, and so this is 150 questions that are actually answered in like 90 seconds. What did Jefferson mean when he said all men are created equal? What's a well-regulated militia? Very short answers, well put together. If somebody wants to tweet or post it on X, whatever that platform is these days, you can cut and copy and send something out about the Constitution that way. My other book is called Creating the Declaration of Independence. When I got done with the first one, I found out that I had, while it was about the Constitution, I found out that there was 140 references to the Declaration of Independence in a book I wrote about the Constitution. So I said, awesome. I should do something with the Declaration. So
yeah, I got to come back here and I'll bring you right on. We'll talk about the event and the case and everything like that. Right?
Okay, yep. Cool.
And we are back with Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal and beyond. I'm your host, Kev Phares, 22-year-old conservative college student at Illinois State University, soon to be graduate, everybody, and hopefully a lawyer in the next few years as well. Going to law school next fall is the current plan. And so I've always tried to find people that I should probably follow in their footsteps, people who have gone the right route and really done good things for our country. And so one person that I've definitely found that has been not only a mentor, but also just an absolutely strong conservative fighter is my friend, David Chistokis, who I have here on the line and on YouTube and everything like that right now. David, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you. Outside of course, disappointed in the Bears like everybody else right at the moment.
Yeah, but being a Bears fan, you kind of get used to the disappointment,
You never get used to it, Kevin. That's at least I hope you never get used to it. We don't ever want to get used to losing. It's not something you ever want to accept,
Yeah.
So it's better when they win, but it's still entertaining. It was an entertaining game at any event.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So. Well, one thing that I know that we definitely don't want to lose, and you're on the front lines fighting this battle, is the case, the Georgia case with Trump, and we've talked about it on the show before. It's technically a RICO case, which is usually used for organized crime. There's been many updates and people pleading guilty. Tell me a little bit more about
Sure.
Tell everybody, lay out what's going on with it.
Of course, there's a law in Georgia. It's called RICO, which stands for Racketeering, Influence, Corrupt Organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And the district attorney in Fulton County, Georgia, charged President Trump and 18 other people with violation of their RICO statute. RICO is basically been designed over the time to get to people that you normally can't get to in terms of, say, drug cartels and human traffickers and street gangs, where you want to get to the top, so then you can combine everybody involved in what they call a criminal enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
Among the 18 people indicted along with President Trump is a pastor, Stephen Lee, a Lutheran minister from here in Illinois, and I am his lawyer on this case. We have another fellow in Georgia that is our local counsel in Georgia, a fellow by the name of David Olson. We're so blessed to have David with us in this battle. And so, but Pastor Lee, it's very strange because back in November of 22, the folks in Georgia sent a subpoena to try and compel testimony by Pastor Lee in front of the grand jury. And we had several days of hearings in front of a judge in Kendall County here in Illinois, because a subpoena from a grand jury, the authority to enforce it from a state grand jury ends at the state line.
Mm.
So they don't have authority to actually make somebody come to Georgia unless they get an order from a court that is local to wherever it is that the individual lives.
Yeah.
So they had tried to get Pastor Lee to come to Georgia. And the judge here in Illinois said, they didn't even have enough evidence to make him a defendant in this case. And so he denied their request to compel his testimony in Georgia. And so that was November of just about a year ago. It was November of 22. And so in August of this year, August 15th to be exact, when we woke up to find out that he had been indicted along with the president and 17 other folks, we were pretty astounded because they didn't even have enough evidence to make him a witness, let alone evidence to call him a defendant. So the RICO charge in Georgia, so that's that background. The RICO charge in Georgia is built, they've got 161 what they call overt acts that were in furtherance of this alleged conspiracy to illegally overturn the 2020 presidential election. And the way it reads, it's not just illegally overturn the Georgia election, but illegally overturned the presidential election nationally, which is kind of astounding. I never knew that the deputy or the district attorney in Georgia had authority to look after the whole entire country.
Yeah.
You know, which would be pretty surprising because I think there's 6,000 counties, which means there's about 6,000 district attorneys who, under her theory, could in fact run the country.
Yeah.
And we didn't elect those guys to do that. So in any event, that was that. But of the 161 overt acts that they included in furtherance of this alleged conspiracy were what I would consider to be 159 actions that were actually protected conduct under the First Amendment. One of the overt acts is President Trump giving a speech the day after the election. They saying that he was falsely claiming that he had won. Another one included several lawyers giving legal advice. There was other overt acts, including that say that several people had lobbied state legislators to pass certain laws in terms of the election governing the selection of electors to vote in the presidential election on January 6th, as it turns out. And they're saying it was illegal to talk to these legislators and to explain to them what their authority was under the United States Constitution. As far as Pastor Lee goes, he knocked on two doors. They say he knocked on two doors and was on two telephone calls. And those two doors and those two telephone calls, by virtue of his activity there, he was supposedly trying to overturn the election by getting a woman by the name of Ruby Freeman to change what her testimony is and change what her story was about an event on election night in an accounting facility in Atlanta.
Fascinating. We have to take a quick break here, and I want to talk more about what that event is. I also want to talk about this event that you're going to be having in the next week here, as well. And as well as what the possible consequences could be if, hopefully not, but if Stephen Lee was actually found guilty. We're going to talk about all that coming up here soon in the next segment of Speechless. Everybody, we'll be right back. Okie dokie. Okay, so we're off the air now. We're still obviously live everywhere else.
Okay.
And I don't want to cover too much of that.
No, we can go back there everywhere else, folks. We can go back to telling them about the Declaration of Independence.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yep. Let's go with that.
Declaration
of Independence.
Yeah, that was the other book. The other book is called Creating the Declaration of Independence, and it follows Richard Henry Lee, John Adams, and Thomas Jefferson from June the 6th of 1776 until July the 4th. And it's the story behind what happened in those 5 weeks before the Declaration was issued. The kind of things that Jefferson considered when he was writing the Declaration, the situation, how it was that Jefferson came to write it. It's very kind of interesting that Jefferson wasn't the first choice. He was kind of like a second draft choice and a player to be named later. You know, when they put him on to write the Declaration of Independence. Yeah. The first choice was, of course, Richard Henry Lee, who had he was the first individual to propose independence publicly, and so that's the story behind there. And I would encourage people, if they're going to get these books, to get Creating the Declaration of Independence first, because what's kind of cool about that book is there's stuff about Richard Henry Lee and the fact that he wasn't able to stay in Philadelphia because his wife was sick. There's stuff about Thomas Jefferson and the fact that his mom had recently died, and he had this 6 weeks of incredible headaches. It brings these people alive as human beings, not as bronze statues.
Yeah.
Not as parchment papers, but as actual human beings. And they were, and they had the political considerations going on in what they were trying to do. So I would encourage people, because it's. I think we often forget when folks are attacking the founders and whatnot in terms of defending them. They're not bronze and concrete and marble. They're living, breathing human beings, at least at that point in time that they were doing the things that affect our lives today.
Yeah.
So I think that's important for folks to realize, and that book brings that home. So those are the two books: Creating the Declaration of Independence, Constitutional Soundbites, and of course, if you read Spanish, Solo Libro en Español en todo mundo, sobre documentos fundadores de Estados Unidos.
Absolutely.
And that's the one that's got George on the cover.
Yeah.
But if you read Spanish, or if you have a Spanish speaking friend, it's a great gift for a Spanish speaking friend, because it's the only book in the whole world in Spanish about these things. And it's very strange, but even though folks are probably have English as a second language, when you have important things like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, vida libre e búsqueda de felicidad, it's you understand those things better in the language that you're most comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we miss the boat when we don't explain to our folks, our fellow citizens, that are more comfortable in Spanish than English, in the language that they're most comfortable in, the concepts that make America great.
Absolutely.
I
just want to let you know we have like a minute left, so I just want to keep make
All
sure.
right. Well, I'm going to take a sip. I'm going to catch my breath.
That's perfectly fine. I do see I got a commenter, Jim, who asked a great question. We're going to get to that in the next segment at some point. More on the lines of Trump, jail time, if it'll do anything to his campaign. But obviously, we're going to focus a little bit on Stephen Lee, this event,
Sure.
and his repercussions as well, because a lot of people obviously focus so much on Trump that it's Trump's case. But again, as you said, there's 17 other people that were listed with him, and this affects them. The thing is that Trump has a campaign. Trump has the media watching everything that he's doing. He can get his message out there a lot easier. These other 17 don't necessarily have all of that. Some of them do, but not all of them have the platform, have the level of eyes on them that can allow them to be as defended in the public. All right, let's get back here on the radio. And we are back with Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal and beyond. I'm your host, Kev Phares, 22-year-old conservative college student from Illinois State University. And if this is your first time tuning in, thank you so much. If this is your billionth time tuning in, I'd wonder how many episodes you were able to listen to. You must have had to listen to multiple in one day, or even just have it on a loop all the time. But I'm happy that you guys are here. And if you didn't know, we are on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Rumble, where you can look up Cities 92.9 or Speechless with Kev, and you can check me out, see me in studio, and even see my guest who is tuning in and phoning in from just another part of Illinois. But that's my good friend, David Shostokis, who's here with me today. And we've been talking about Reverend Stephen Lee, who is one of the 17 other people that was named in the Trump indictment in Fulton County, Georgia. David Shostokis is the attorney representing Stephen Lee in this case. And we've been breaking down a lot of different things as to what the case was. If you want to go catch any of that, it's already on YouTube. You can go see go watch and listen to that at any time. But David, I want to talk a little bit more. So first off, we were just talking at the end of the break how Trump obviously is the main guy in this whole case. Everybody is always watching what Trump does. His legal defense fund is probably the most supported, but then there's a lot of other people that are named in this case that don't necessarily have quite the following, quite the eyes on them. And one of them is Reverend Stephen Lee. And so I know you guys are holding an event this week in Shanahan. Tell me a little bit more about that, and tell my listeners, because I believe they can even come if they'd like to.
Oh, they certainly can. We'd encourage them to come, because one of your colleagues from Cities 92.9 is going to be interviewing some of the folks that are going to be on the stage for that. Kat Peterson is going to be with us at Shanahan and Families of Faith in Shanahan. There's a Facebook event that people can go to and find out more about that. But the details are such that we're going to have a panel that's going to open up this event with Pastor Randy Bland of Families of Faith, Pastor Dave Smith, who is in fact the head of the Illinois Family Institute, and Pastor Latasha Fields, who is heads up the Illinois Opportunity Project. And they are going to be discussing the weaponization of government against religion. And then following the panel of the pastors, if you will be Pastor Stephen Lee being interviewed by Kat Peterson and on the stage. And we're going to talk about Pastor Lee's life and times and how he's been actually a hero for America. He's properly called America's chaplain, because he's just a few things that people know that he's been served at would be Columbine and 9/11 and the Pulse nightclub shooting and Mandalay Bay in Vegas, Hurricanes Katrina and Irma. Just an incredible story of service from Pastor Lee. You're going to hear about that. And at the end, Kat's also going to be talking with myself and David Oles, our co-counsel from Georgia, is coming in, and we're going to be explaining in detail the legal situation and actually kind of like the legal meaning of all this. And I think I want to touch on that for folks that should know about this. And that is I mentioned before the break about 159 of the 161 what they call overt acts, to my view, are actually protected activity under the First Amendment. Yeah, and the whole entire First Amendment is under attack.
I read through that whole case, and some of them were it was tweets from Trump, and like you said, him giving a speech, and again, always speaking from his own opinion, from the evidence that he had seen, of which he lays out a lot of it, and so for them to go after him and everybody else in this for simply doing like what you said, talking to people, putting things on social media. It's insane.
And basically doing what's been done after every election since 1800, and that is contesting the election. An election's not actually over until all the litigation is complete.
No, exactly. And here's the thing is if they can go, if the Department of Justice can go after the president and all these other people that are listed in this RICO case for tweets, for speeches,
knocking on doors.
Anybody, knocking on doors. Anybody who is listening to the show, anybody who is watching right now, hey, if you ever put a comment in my chat that said, I believe the 2020 election was stolen, you could be implicated in the next lawsuit. If people are found guilty of this, that's the precedent that we're setting.
It's even worse than that, Kevin. It's very strange, but it seems to me I've actually done interviews with media folks from in London and in Paris and in New Zealand and in Australia and in Germany. Those people understand what's at stake in this case. They understand, but what they understand as well is if this case goes the wrong way, the First Amendment is decimated, and they look around the world. They look to America as the example of how they protect their rights. They look to America and they want to point to their governments. It's the around the world interviews that I've done on this subject are just incredible. And the understanding that the media, the journalists from all these other countries know what a danger it is, not just to America, but to the world. And I think it would be really, really helpful because, of course, Shanahan, for folks that would know, if they look at this, Families of Faith is close to the intersection of Interstate 80 and I-55. From the listening area of Cities 92.9, it's not far away. It's an easy trip. Join us. There's going to be some amazing things. There'll be some amazing people. Kat will be there. Gary Franchi, who is the host of the Next News Network, who has 2.2 million YouTube subscribers, is going to be the MC for the evening.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we're great. We're so grateful to Gary for coming, and then hopefully we'll do some things and people have an opportunity to support Pastor Lee. And like you said, that all the rest of these folks don't have the same platform as the president does.
Mhm.
to do that. But their cases are as much a danger. And you can see there's been, to my knowledge, there's been 4 folks that have pled guilty to things in
Mhm.
Georgia related to this case. All those guilty pleas have been, none of those guilty pleas, let's put it that way, have been related to this RICO charge. They've found some other minor misdemeanors to have them plead to, because otherwise these folks, Sidney Powell, for instance, would be facing the crushing nature of the power of the government to
Mm.
run her down. And at the moment, all they want to do is to have pleas so that they can say that President Trump is surrounded by criminals.
It's about a media narrative. That's
Right.
absolutely, yeah, that absolutely makes sense. When it comes to Stephen Lee, if God forbid he was found guilty of basically doing what he thought was best, what is not a crime, talking to
Right.
somebody, what would his potential punishment be?
The potential punishment is up to 20 years in prison.
That's
Uh,
insane.
There's a mandatory minimum on the RICO charge of 5 years in
Yeah.
prison. And just as a highlight, the week before, we went on August 25th to have him surrender to the Fulton County Jail in Fulton County, Georgia. The week before, some guy, or shortly before, there's a fellow that was an inmate in the Fulton County Jail, literally was eaten to death by bed bugs in that jail.
Oh my God.
This is the jail that
He would be held in if
that
yeah.
he would be originally held in, that we battled to keep him out of in those early days of this situation. So it's really, really important. And in terms of, there's also, if you can't get there and you want to support Pastor Lee, there's a Give, Send, Go /Chaplain Lee to help him out. And just in terms, Chaplain Lee, of course, is a chaplain. He doesn't even own his own home. That's not something ministers do, right? They get they get the house that goes along with the church. And as it turns out, just one day to fly to and from Georgia for he and I, $1,200.
Yep.
Okay. That's the kind of expenses that are associated with this. So it's amazing. But I would love to have as many people that are, listening. I hope you're coming, Kevin.
I will. I'm almost positive I'll be there. I got to arrange for my ride up there, but I will probably be there.
Well, come with Kat. Kat's gonna be there.
Yeah, I'll make sure. I know she's got some different living arrangements now. She's not always in Bloomington, so
okay.
But I do want to, and I'm going to make sure we get that address out there one more time. But I got a commenter here who asked a question. I want to get to it. It's coming up on screen. He wants to know what charges against Trump you think have the most probability to hamper his campaign or result in prison time.
Well, of course, he's got 3 other cases besides this one.
Yep.
He's also got the New York, the New
civil
York matters. Well, he's got New York. Well, that's the New York civil case. He's also got the criminal case in New York.
Oh, really?
And then he's got the Washington, D.C. related to J6.
Yep.
And then he's got the documents case in Florida. Then he's got these cases here. This RICO case in Georgia.
And he also tangentially, I mean, it's not direct, but he also has cases pending. I know there's at least one in Colorado, I think one in New Hampshire to try to keep him off the ballot, which are not against him directly, but I'm sure concern him. So.
Oh, they're of ultimate concern. They're of ultimate concern. Sometimes I was watching some of that Colorado case, and it made me embarrassed to be a lawyer, just because of the silly arguments that they're taking seriously.
I know, out of the 14th Amendment, it was. I covered that on my show too. It was insane. That was absolutely insane. But to this question, so
to his question, I would suggest that right now, the documents case is going to be nothing because of what they call the Presidential Records Act, and because he just really didn't do there's special privileges that a former president and former president have relative to documents. It's covered by the Presidential Records Act. Presidential Records Act is a civil matter. It's not a criminal matter. Ultimately, I believe that's going to be the outcome there. There's a lot of people say, "Oh, that's the biggest one." No, it's not, because there's other law that covers that situation. The Washington D.C. case, it's a little more problematic because you got this Washington D.C. jury to deal with. and they're saying that he was, of course, inciting folks in the insurrection. We know it wasn't. Hopefully, they'll get some sort of motion ultimately, or play for the jury. Go peacefully and prayerfully to express your opinions. I mean, that's peppered through all of his actual speech, and it's peppered through all his tweets. He doesn't tell anybody to do anything violent. So I would ultimately like to think that we can count on the jury, as even if it's a jury that doesn't like him personally or like him as a president, I'd like to think that these people will do their duty as actual citizens when it comes to the law. And that's the same situation in Georgia. Excuse me.
Okay.
The case there, again, I believe there's First Amendment affirmative defenses for everything that happened there.
Mm-hmm.
So and New York's a piece of garbage. The New York case is a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's in danger of any prison. I don't think he's in danger of all this. And they're accomplishing what they want by keeping him tied down.
Yeah.
I mean, the duty is that what they're trying to do is tie him down. There's no legal basis for any of these things, but you still have to take them seriously. That's like we're pretty confident, not pretty confident. We're very confident Pastor Lee is going to be found not guilty.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, he's facing a potential 20 years in prison, and so we still have to cross the T's, dot the I's, do all the work that's necessary to defeat the case that's against him.
Absolutely.
But that case, it's not just against him. We were at the Illinois Family Institute dinner just a couple of days ago, and Dave Smith was talking about the case, and he was saying, if he were found guilty, then anybody who in fact is a precinct committeeman, any place in the country, can just hang up their walking shoes.
Yep.
Because it's dangerous to go knock on a door.
Because you could get indicted. Absolutely.
You could get indicted for going to knock on a door.
Yep, absolutely. Well, David, we got to come to a break here. I appreciate you having on one more time for everybody. Can you please just let them know where the event is? Give the address, and I know we'll post it to our city's Facebook page too. But
Families of Faith Ministries, Shanahan, Illinois. It's easy. That's easy to find.
Yep.
I think it's 24866 Eames. But the fact is, Families of Faith Ministries in Shanahan, Illinois. Pastor Randy Bland. We're going to have a great lineup of pastors. You're going to learn about weaponization of government against religion. You're going to hear from Pastor Steve, and you will hear in detail the law of what's going on in Georgia.
That's awesome. And that's Thursday, November 9th.
Yes.
From doors open at 5:45 and it goes until 8:30.
That's the schedule plan. Yes.
Perfect. All right.
But the lawyers will be taking questions at the end, so who knows how long they'll go.
Yeah, and we all know. I know you, David, and you run me through my breaks, so I do have to take one of those real quick. I'll keep you on at least through the break on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Rumble, everything like that. But everybody, will be right back with more Speechless on the radio on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Awesome. Thank you very much, David. That's pretty much everything I had for you. Any last thoughts for the audience out there?
No, just the media is not covering this stuff in Atlanta, or they're at least not covering the stuff in Atlanta in terms of the impact that it can have.
Yeah.
But these 19 people are not just the ones on trial. We are all on trial. The danger to all our rights, like the conversations I had with the folks from around the world, like those conversations, they get it. They know that the damage, if our rights are damaged in this case, it hurts everybody's rights, not just in America, but in the United States, but in the entire world. So thanks, Kevin. It's good to see you.
Of course.
Hopefully we'll see you Thursday.
Yep.
And,
I will likely, like I said, I'll likely be there. Likely.
Okay.
Thank you so much, David. And everybody seemed to love you in the chat too. So I'm going to have you on again soon.
Thanks, bud. We'll take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So that was my good friend, David Shostokis. I saw Jim. I know that you really enjoyed. I hope a lot of people learned something from David. Obviously, I mean, I love having him on. I feel like I don't even have to, he just lays it all out there. I don't even have to have any questions prepared. I just have like 3 or 4 and he just keeps going and going and going. And so I got another segment coming up here, guys, talking about, it's my last segment of the show. It is a year until Election Day. I have a stern warning for everybody. What is going to happen in 2024? Short segment. If you guys want to go, obviously go check out David Shostokis's books and everything, and just go on Amazon. Constitutional Soundbites. I've dug into that one a little bit. Always so knowledgeable, and so make sure you guys go check those kinds of things out. David Shostokis on Amazon, and check out some of his books. And he even offers that one in Spanish too, which is amazing. So we're going to be coming back here probably within the next 2 to 3 minutes. And I got a stern warning for 2024, and I hope you guys heed it. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw my warning already, but I'm going to dive even deeper into it. I got to check my fantasy lineup right now, see how it's doing. All right, I'm doing okay. Not winning, though. That's unfortunate. I am not winning currently. A lot of my best players had a bye this week, so that's the one thing. I love my show. I love doing it. I love talking to you guys. I love my radio show. I love doing all this. But the fact that football also spans through all the time that I work on Sunday makes me a little sad. I don't get to relax and watch some football, you know? Got Cowboys on right now against the Eagles on this TV up here, so I get to like tune in a little bit. The Cowboys are winning, thank God. And we will be back here soon, everybody. With the stern warning for 2024. It's getting dark out here too. I don't know if I'm going to open this, show you guys through this window. It's getting dark out here. It makes me sad because like now I also, when I go home, it's going to be dark. I spent my entire day in the studio. And again, I love it. I love what I do. But there's these little things. Like I didn't see too much. I mean, it was a beautiful day out too today. I got out a little bit before I had to come in. It's like 60 some degrees in November in Illinois. Beautiful. Loved it. Walked 5 miles yesterday in 60-degree weather. Love it. But that's the one thing I really hate about the time change. It's that now the sun's down and it's like going down and it's 5 o'clock, 4:55. And absolutely, Jim, you're welcome. If anybody else had questions, I always will try to take them. I know I got a caller at some point while David was on. Wasn't able to take that, unfortunately. But yeah. Nothing's going to break my stride. Nothing's going to slow me down. But I do want to give a stern warning to everybody out there about 2024. But before we get to that, I want to introduce myself. Obviously, I am Kev Phares, host of Speechless on Cities 92.9. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As we come to the end of my show here, I want to just always give a reminder that I do off-air content on YouTube. Speechless with Kev Phares. All you got to do is look up Speechless with Kev, and you'll find me right there. Sorry, my words. It's been 2 hours. I've just been talking, and sometimes it doesn't always come out right. But I want to make sure this comes out right, everybody. Today, November 5th, 2023, is 1 year away from Election Day 2024. For our presidency, to try to take back all of Congress, increase our lead in the House, hopefully get the lead in the Senate, to work on our state and local governments, to bring in transparent, honest, and good government that will also hopefully decrease the size of it. But as we know, what happened in 2020? What happened in 2016? Well, 2016 gave way to a massive rise in Black Lives Matter, the movement that was due to false narratives being pushed about police brutality as if it's much more widespread than it actually is. Then we had 2020 being the most apparent. 2020, not only was there the manufactured crisis of COVID, there was also the coordinated crisis of George Floyd's death and martyring him to stoke a fury that ended up going worldwide. COVID was thus ignored in exchange for billions of dollars of damages to cities, 25 plus lives lost in riots across the nation. All for what? To spin the public narrative even further away from Donald Trump and the Republican Party. You want to know why Trump lost in 2020? Trump lost because the media, in bed with global elites and progressive Democrats, took advantage of several crises, several issues, blew them way out of proportion, all to manipulate the public narrative. Now, why am I going back and looking back at all of that? Because we're entering another election year. And when I was younger, it was much more easy for me to fall for things like COVID as being as bad as it was. And I never really fell for the BLM scam, but I could totally see why people did. But be awake, not woke. That's my message to everybody. Be awake, not woke. 2024 is not going to be an easy year. I guarantee you there will be protests. I wouldn't be surprised if there were riots. And there will be multiple coordinated crises with an attempt to manipulate the public, your opinion. Do not fall for it. Do not fall for it. God bless you guys. I got to end the show today, but thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening, and do not fall for it. God bless you. God bless America. Until next time, guys, thank you so much for listening. This has been Speechless. I'm your host, Gav Phares. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on all the different platforms. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you again so much for tuning in. I see my friends in Rumble, too. I can't bring your comments on screen like I do with people on YouTube, Facebook, and everything like that, but I do see you. And one person said, came by your show one day. We talk about current events, or come by our show one day. We talk about current events. I will check it out. Thank you so much to you and everybody else that has checked out the show. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends, and check out my conversation that I had with Paul Garcia the other day on my YouTube channel. Great conversation from a very intelligent and godly man. I really appreciate each and every one of you. And until next time, thank you for tuning in to Speechless.